Hola, minasan! Welcome back for another round of Tabletop Gaming. Hey, how y'all doing? Welcome to the show. Coqui-san here. Gonna be building a new commander deck. A whole new commander deck. I had to separate the cards from my catalog because going through my whole entire catalog would take 10 years. But these are the ones that I'm interested in putting into the deck, but I kind of just grabbed a whole bunch. So this isn't even 100 for a commander deck. So, for those of you who may be new to the channel or new to Magic or probably didn't even know about this commander, what it is that it's called a singleton format. You get you build a deck of 100 cards, and out of the 100 cards, you pick one character that is a legendary, like Kotori, Pilot Prodigy, and that will serve as your commander and will sit outside your deck. You put it outside your deck, and then the remaining 99 cards go into your deck. And in your deck, you can only play one unique card each. So, except for lands. Basic lands, you can have as many as you want as per the Magic build. But all other cards that is not a basic land, like say this Greatsword, is that what it? Yeah, like this Greatsword, you can only have one copy of Greatsword, and so on. So I was introduced to Commander unexpectedly when I went to Retro Classics and game store in Somerville, New Jersey, and the people working there pointed out, that they were expanding. They expanded their basically franchise and created Retro Classics, Retro Lotus. Sorry, it's called Retro Lotus. It's their sister store focusing entirely on tabletop games. And when I saw some Magic cards at Retro Classics before the official opening, they told me about Commander, explained the whole thing, and reminded me of Pokemon Nuzlocke, the whole entire challenge. So I decided to give it a try. I did, with what cards I had. I didn't buy any new cards yet or anything, but with what cards I had, I built two decks. One was an Ishimaru deck, and the other was a Silvos Rogue Elemental deck. And I tried it out, and I liked it, and I decided to dive in. Basically, I ended up John Wicking because I haven't played Magic the Gathering in 13 years. We're talking the last cards that I picked up were Magic 2010 and some Kamigawa cards, and that was it. I have no idea what came after and everything else, and the more I learn what has happened the past 13 years, the more my brain explodes at some of these mechanics that they came up with. It's pretty amazing. So yeah, and as one person who plays Commander had told me, the world's my oyster since I'm coming in with 13, 13 years out. That means that in terms of having access to every single card, and I don't have to wait for a new card. All of the Commander players that I'm playing, they've still been on Magic for years. So they had to wait for the next set, whereas I didn't really care. I stopped caring about Magic until I learned about Commander, and so for me, everything in Commander in Magic the Gathering is new, and it's been like a whole new refreshery. It's like fresh and everything. Sort of like what happened when I first bought, my first Magic cards back in 5th edition, when it was transitioning into 6th edition. It was Mirage, Visions, Weatherlight, and Tempest. Those were the first set of cards that I was getting, and I still had access to buy cards from Homelands and Homelands and Legends, I believe, because I did pick up Legends. I think I picked up some. I think I picked up a packet from the Dark once, but basically that's where I started at when Wizard of Coast started making the transitional shift and refining the rules. And when 6th edition officially came out, like a month or two later after I started, everything became a little bit more refined with the instance and such. So that's where I'm at with Magic the Gathering. I'm still discovering all kinds of crazy things and weird sayings like Demir. I was like, what the heck is Demir? And they had to explain it. Then they were like, "Oh, what's your power level?" I'm like, "Power level? We're playing Dragon Ball?" I'm like, "We're playing Dragon Ball all of a sudden?" They're like, "Oh, I wish I had." One of them was like, "I wish I had my tablet so I could show you." They still didn't explain to me what a power level is, so I had to look it up, and that's played silly, honestly. This power level thing is pretty silly. I could just lie that I have a power level 10. Or say I have a power level 1, it's playing like a power level 10. It's silly. But, it makes everyone happy, so that's why, I'm chuckling about it, because it just it's silly and it sounds fun, but I don't care for that. Oh, man. So, to get you all up to date, my Ishimaru deck had evolved into a Sythis Harvest hand deck. So in my Ishimaru deck, I was playing Spirits and Angels, and over time, when after my first time playing with Ishimaru, I came across this card called Sythis. This is the Sythis card. Yeah, let me just do this for y'all so that way you can all see a little better. There we go. Let's get this a little bit more closer. This is Sythis, Harvest Hand, and whenever I cast a spell, here we go. Let's see. That's a little better. Sorry for the glare. I think I'm glared out. There we go. So whenever you cast an enchantment spell, you gain 1 life and draw a card. So that's my commander, and my commander sits to the side. It's not in the deck, and I could play the commander like an extra hand and bring it out into the field. But if it dies or gets exiled or something, and I put it back into the what is called the command zone, then what ends up happening is that I have to pay what is called a commander tax. So instead of paying the 1 green, I have to now pay 1 green and 2 generic mana to bring it back out, and that builds up over time. So as time keeps going on, you keep adding 2 on top of 2 on top of 2 every time it keeps dying. So that's my commander, and basically it turned what was originally a angel spirit deck now turned into a enchantment creature deck, because I learned about enchantment creatures. This was something that wasn't there back in the 2000s when I was playing. Back in the days when I was playing, I was like, "Oh, enchantment creatures, huh? Okay, this looks fun." So I started hunting, and enchantment creatures, oddly enough, were in one of the recent sets called Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. I enjoyed the Kamigawa sets before I left Magic, so coming back in and finding Kamigawa was really nice, because that was aura familiarity for me, because that meant that there were cards like Ninjutsu and Bushido. Well, there's no Bushido in there for some weird reason, but the Ninjutsu came back. So, things that were familiar to me, so were the spirits, of course. So I started buying a whole bunch of Neon Dynasty. A whole lot. I even bought one of the pre-con decks called Buckle Up, because I learned about a new card type among the artifacts called Vehicle, which blew my mind that they came up with that. So, what's up to date? Well, let's show you what's up to date here, and you can see it right below. Bang. All right. So, as the deck list rolls around, I'm just trying to get to my starting point here, because I realized I screwed up. Don't worry, it's not gonna take too long. Alright, so basically the whole entire objective is to play enchantments and enchantment creatures. It's completely enchantment focused, and there's a whole lot of synergy going on. And basically the way the deck is supposed to work is that I'm using lifelink, which is whenever damage is dealt, any type of damage caused by a creature, whether it's towards a creature or towards a player, I gain life back. And I will do that while simultaneously build +1/+1 counters on my creatures. Basically, I'm buffing them up I'm giving them +1/+1 counter buffs while healing at the same time, and then I hit my opponents with a whole bunch of buffs, with a bunch of buffed up creatures. But it also and over time it started to expand. So all the angels went bye bye in favor of enchantment creatures, and then the spirits dwindled down to a mere few, because when I bought the Buckle Up Precon deck, I ended up getting more enchantment creatures that was way more beneficial than spirit types. And now there's some spirit types among the enchantment creatures too. So, I was able to squeeze them in and everything. But it's been a never ending squeeze. So, I got forests, 12 forests, and 12 plains, of course. So, because this is a white and green deck. And here we go. There we go. And among my non-lands, I have Temple of Plenty, which comes into the battlefield tap, and I get to scry 1 when it enters the battlefield, and allows me to tap for white and green. Overgrown Farmland, when it enters the battlefield tapped, unless I control 2 or more other lands. That's pretty easy, because I'll always have 2 lands. Bountiful Promenade, enter the battlefield tapped unless I have 2 or more opponents, which is not a problem because it's in a commander deck. In the commander deck, you're always going to find yourself in a pod, what they call a pod, where you're playing against 4 players. So the criteria is always met when you don't have to worry about tapping it. Command Tower, which you'll find in pretty much every pre-con commander deck that Magic releases, lets you add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. So color identity is based on the pips right here. This green and white pip. So whatever the green and white pip is up here, and whatever green and white pip you have down here, that is your commander's color identity. So for example, Shimmering Angel has a white pip up here as an angel. Which makes it a white creature, but down here in its ability, it has a blue pip for water, which requires an island card to tap to use its ability. So that's Shimmering Angel's color identity, white and blue. So of course, Shimmering Angel is not a legend, but the point I'm trying to make is that any pips that are up here on the top left, on the top right, and any pips that are in here is what you are allowed to use in your deck. Those are the colors you are allowed to use in your deck, no matter what. So this white and green deck cannot have any blue creatures or blue cards in it or any of the other colors. Colorless notwithstanding, colorless is still colorless. Blossoming Sands is the next card that I have. When it enters the battlefield, I gain 1 life. Gives me white and green, and it comes into play tap. Temple Garden, you're going to hear this a lot regarding cards like this one. It's called a shock land. The reason why they call it a shock land is that when it enters the battlefield, you pay 2 life. If you don't pay the 2 life, then it comes into play tapped. So if you don't want to come into play tapped, you take 2 life. And the reason why they call it a shock land is because of the card Shock, which is a red instant card in which it deals 2 damage to you. Deals 2 damage to whoever you target. And that's why it's called a shock land, because it does that. Vezitha is a very unique land. When it enters the battlefield, I can copy any other land that's that's in play, my opponents or myself. So I can actually duplicate the whole thing. Fortified Village. When it enters the battlefield, I can reveal a forest or plains. If I don't, then it comes into the field tap. So it's a good card if I want to reveal if I have them lands so that way it doesn't have to come in tap, but I don't have to do it either. Tranquil Expanse is just a very standard non-basic land. Gives me white and green. It always comes into play tap. Brushland gives me 1 generic mana, 1 colorless mana, but I can also get a green or a white, but it will deal 1 damage to me. It'll deal 1 damage, which is inconsequential for this deck because this deck has lifelink. I heal a lot, so 1 damage is nothing. Canopy Fiesta enters the battlefield tapped unless I control 2 or more basic lands. So it's just like the other card that I have. Uncharted Haven. Wait, I didn't duplicate. I didn't put two of the same cards in here, did I? That's kind of weird. Ah, okay. There's a difference between overgrown farmland and canopy vista. Canopy vista is basic land, whereas overgrown farmland is any land. That's interesting, but there are two different cards. Whew, that was a little weird. Uncharted Haven comes into play temp, and then I choose a color, whatever color I want, and I get to tap for that color. Jukai Naturalist. So now we're coming to the creatures. Jukai Naturalist has lifelink. It's an enchantment creature. It's got lifelink, and enchantment spells I cast cost one less spell to cast. There's a whole lot of these type of cards in Magic that does that for enchantments. Calyx Guided by Fate is a legendary enchantment creature. Whenever Calyx Guided by Fate or another enchantment enters the battlefield, I put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. On top of that, whenever Calyx or an enchanted creature that I control deals combat damage to the player, I can create a token that's a copy of the non-legendary enchantment I control, which can be done once per turn. So basically what this means is that whenever I play Fate or an enchantment, which includes enchantment creatures, I get to put a +1/+1 token, and Calyx or the enchanted creature will duplicate another enchantment. So if I wanted to, I can duplicate Calyx. Or any of the enchantments I want. I can make duplicates of those because they're enchantments. This one I threw in named Hamza, Guardian of Odyshin, legendary creature. Now this one requires the +1/+1 counters that this deck runs on. This spell costs one less to cast for each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it. So he has 4 generic mana. So if I have 4 creatures with +1/+1 counters on it, then I only have to pay the green and the white, and that's it. He comes in for 2 mana. He's a 5/5 creature. On top of that, creature spells that I cast also cost 1 less to cast for each creature I control the +1/+1 counter. So if I have 4 creatures with +1/+1 counters, majority of my cards are going to be played for free. Creature cards, and that includes the enchantment creatures. Well, I wouldn't say free. Sorry, let me. All my generic mana will be 0, and I just only have to pay the pips to play. There we go. Now, this one I just added today called Destiny Spinner. Creature and enchantment spells you control can't be countered. That's a big deal. You don't want to get countered. On top of that, for 4 mana, target land you control becomes an XX elemental creature with trample and haste until end of turn, where X is the number of enchantments you control. It's still land. So basically, turn my lands into creatures. They have haste, they have trample, and because this whole deck is nothing but enchantments, they can become very, very, very big for that whole turn, and I can overrun my opponent completely with lands, so long as they're not tapped. Then this one is another legendary enchantment creature called Arasta of the Endless Web. It has reach, and whenever an opponent casts an instant or sorcery spell, create a 1 green spider creature token with reach. So go ahead, cast spells. Cast your sorceries, cast your instants. I will get a green creature. I will get a green spider with reach, and I will be able to protect myself from flyers. Then I have Nyxborn Behemoth. This is a biggie. Similar to Hamza, this spell costs X less to cast, where X is the total mana value of non-creature enchantments you control. So regular enchantments, not creature enchantments, but enchantment creatures, but all other types of enchantments, they will accumulate up. So if the cost is like if I play, let's say for example Primal Rage has 2 mana. So if the 2 mana will subtract to its 10 cost because it's got 10 generic mana and 2 green, and you can reduce that down based on the number of the total number of converted mana cost from the enchantments you have on the field. It's got trample for 2 mana and sacrificing another enchantment. Nyxborn Behemoth gains indestructible until end of turn, and it is a 10/10 creature. So this is a big swinger that I have in hand here. Dryad of the Elysian Grove is an enchantment creature. You may play an additional land on each of your turns. Lands you control are every basic land type in addition to their other types. So it's a land ramper, basically. So it allows me to tap for any color I have. So if there's any trick plays that people do where they'll hand me a card or swap cards or anything, and I get stuck with like say a red card, I could be able to play that thanks to Lycian, because I could just say tap for red and then play their card and kill it and do whatever it does. Next one is Goshen Tai of Boundless Figure, legendary enchantment creature, Shrine. It has trample. It's a 1/1, but what it does is at the beginning of your upkeep, your end step. Sorry, at the beginning of your end step, you may pay 1 mana. And when you do, put a +1/+1 counter on target shrine for each shrine you control. So every single shrine card you have out on the field, you will get multiple +1/+1 counters. Bear in mind this effect, and I got a ruling from a pro level judge. This card can only pay once. You can't tap multiple manas and get multiple tokens on it. You only can activate it once, and only once. So you only get a +1/+1 counter in addition to the number of shrines. So don't expect to tap for 5 mana and get 5 +1/+1 counters. Next up is Sanctum Weaver. The owner of the store actually introduced me to this card, and I loved it, and I immediately picked it up. This is what it was because of the fact that I picked up Sythis, because I bought it individually, which the owner had just put on display that day, and he brought me Sanctum Weaver, and I was like, okay, I'm leaning into the enchantment creature because it's just such a cool concept. What Sanctum Weaver does that when you tap it, you add X mana of one color, any one color, where X is the number of enchantments you control. So if you got 5 enchantments out, you tap, you get 5 mana of any color you want. This one, I don't know how long he's going to stay in for, because I'm trying to get Weaver of Harmony, and he's going to just replace this. But this is Fang of Shigeki, enchantment creature, 1/1, Death Touch. And he's a 1 mana to drop. He's a 1 mana drop. Which would be great when if I pump him up with +1/+1 counters. This one I got from I think this was from the Buckle Up set. Herald of the Pantheon. He's just a regular creature, but what he does is that he makes all enchantment spells I cast cost 1 less to cast. So if I have him and Jukai Naturalist out, I subtract 2 generic mana from my enchantment spells, and whenever I cast an enchantment spell, I gain 1 life. Keep that in mind, the gain 1 life part. That's very important as I go further along here. Generous Visitor is a regular creature, one of the spirit types, few remaining spirit types from Ishimaru, my Ishimaru commander deck. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. That's it. Very simple, very straightforward, very, very powerful for 1 mana. You only need 1 green mana for that. I added this one, Orochi Merge Keeper, before last week. Very simple. He's a Llama War Elf. You tap for green, but he has 1 extra thing. As long as Orochi Merge Keeper is modified, it has tap and add 2 green. So if you put a +1/+1 counter on it, or equipment, or any enchantment ores, which is what modified does, in addition to tapping for 1 mana, he could tap for 2 mana. So given that I'm dropping +1/+1 counters, this actually helps him out. So I put a +1/+1 counter, I could get 2 mana easy. Lana War Elves, if you're not familiar with it, he just taps for 1 mana. And that's it. Very, very, very efficient card. Yavimaya Enchantress. When I saw her, I was like, yes, she has to be put in here. Basically what she does is gets +1/+1 for each enchantment in play. So if I got 5 enchantments in play, she becomes a 7/7 creature. Simple enough. And given that deck is gonna have so many enchantments out at once, she can get very, very, very powerful. Kami of Transience. Trample. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Kami of Transience. Then at the beginning of each end step, if an enchantment was put into your graveyard from the battlefield this turn, you may return Kami of Transience from your graveyard to your hand. So he can come back from the graveyard. He resurrects himself very easily. but that +1/+1 counter escalation is pretty crazy. Quirion Elves, when you play Quirion Elves, choose a color and then just add. And you could tap one of two ways. You could tap to add the one color, one mana of the chosen color, to the mana pool, or you could tap for green. Wild Growth, just enchant your land and you get to produce an additional green land. One of the best land ramps out there if you're playing green. Fertile Ground, same thing, except whenever enchanted land is tapped for mana, its controller adds one mana of any color to his or her mana pool. So this is great for multicolored decks because if you don't have the other color, you could just tap, enchant your green, and now you have a green and a white mana to access. Roaring Earth, I don't know how long this is going to stay in because I'm looking for Branching Evolution. And I already have two other enchantments that can do +1/+1. But for now, this one's gonna stick around a little longer. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature or vehicle you control. This is a new effect in that introduced in Neon Dynasty called Channel. It's a X generic mana and 2 green, and you discard the Roaring Earth from your hand. This is comes right off your hand. And you put X +1/+1 counters on target land you control, and it becomes a 0/0 green spirit creature with haste. It's still a land. So if you tap for 5 mana and channel, for the channel cost and discard this, you could turn your land into a 5/5 creature with haste, a 5/5 spirit creature. So probably read creature land spirit. Or a land creature spirit. Not sure how the type would go. Hardened Scales. I lucked into this one in the card draws. Hardened Scales. If one or more +1/+1 counters would be placed on a creature you control, that many +1/+1 counters. Sorry. Let me repeat that. If one or more +1/+1 counters will be placed on a creature you control, that many +1/+1 counters are placed on instead. So, for example, if you pump your creature up with 2 +1/+1 counters, you get to add 1 extra one. So it's 3 +1/+1 counters. This is a very, very, very important card, along with Branching Evolution, for those +1/+1 ramps. This one is Primal Rage. All creatures you control gain trample. This goes all the way back to Stronghold. It's all the way back to Stronghold. This one I just added today. It's called Sandworm Convergence. I got this from one of the precon decks, commander decks. Creatures with flying can't attack you or planeswalkers you control. At the beginning of your end step, create a 5/5 green worm creature token. That's it. That's why I added in. It's 8 mana, but the fact that I can drop a free creature at the end of my turn is a big deal, and I don't have to worry about flyers attacking me directly. So since I lack the reach, this card can actually give me the defense I need. Untamed Wilds. Search your library for any one basic land and put it directly into play. Doesn't come into play tapped like most other of these fetch cards do. Of course, this is a very, very old card, so it has this additional text. This does not count towards your 1 land per turn limit. Reshuffle your library afterwards. Pretty old card, this version. Kadama's Reach from Kamigawa. This is from one of the early Kamigawa sets. Search your library for 2 basic land cards. Reveal those cards and put one into play tapped and the other into your hand. Then shuffle your library. Very good card. Very good card. Naturalize, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Crumble, bury target artifact. That artifact's controller gains an amount of life equal to its total casting cost. Great soul ring killer right here. Great card to kill Soul Ring with. Now I played this in my Ishimaru deck, this one and its other counterpart, and then I took them out and I put them back in after having played without them. This one is Fog. Creatures deal no combat damage this turn, and the other one is Ethereal Haze. This one I got from the precon. It's the Heliod, God of the Sun, legendary enchantment creature, God. It's indestructible, and as long as your devotion to white is less than 5, Heliod isn't a creature. What devotion is, and I have to have that explained to me 1,000 times, but the number of pips on each of your cards that matches whatever this color is. So what it tells you, which is devotion to white. So all your white pips, if you have 5 or more, then it gets additional effects. In this case here, because I would have less than 5, Helliot would not be a creature. So if I want this to be a creature, I got to get 5 or more white pips on the field. Other creatures you control have vigilance, very important. And for 4 mana, I could create a 2/1 white cleric enchantment creature token. Again, an enchantment creature token, enchantment creature. That's a big deal. That's a very, very powerful thing to have. Then I have his other counterpart, his other version called Helliot Suncrowned. Indestructible. As long as your devotion to white is less than 5, Helliot isn't a creature, of course. Whenever I gain life, I put a +1/+1 counter on target creature or enchantment I control. For 2 mana, another target creature gains lifelink until end of turn. So again, another powerful thing. And what's good about it is that even though they're legendaries, they have 2 completely different names. Therefore, I can play both of these cards at the same time because they're not violating the legendary rule. This next one is Nykthos Paragon. It's an enchantment creature. Whenever you gain life, see? Whenever you gain life, I hope you remembered that when I mentioned gain life. Whenever you gain life, you may put that many +1/+1 counters on each creature you control. You do this only once per turn. So let's say I pumped, let's say for example I pumped Fengus Shigeki. He gets +5/+5 counters from all that, and now he's a 6/6 creature because he's a 1/1, so he's a 6/6 death touch creature. I swing an attack, and let's say yeah. So let's say I activate Helliot Suncrown's ability, in which another creature gains lifelink. So I put down a Fengus Shigeki, who also has death touch. So I attack. My opponent decides to block him. So the death touch kills this creature, and the damage that he deals. Correct me if I'm wrong. You can mention that in the comments section. Which means that he kills the creature off. The lifelink kicks in. 6/6. That means that I get 6 +1/+1 counters, and I put them on each creature I control. So every single creature I have out in the field will get +6. Will get 6 +1/+1 counters. So this is a very, very, very important card, and that's why that's why I fell in love with this deck. This whole entire concept. Sunblessed Samurai. It's an enchantment creature. This spell costs 1 less to cast, 1 generic mana less to cast for each enchantment you control, and it has flying. So if I have enough enchantment creatures, I could bring it out for a mere 1, and it's a 4/4 creature. Goshen Tide Shared Purpose. It has vigilance. It's a shrine. At the beginning of my end step, I could pay 1 mana, and if I do, I create a 1/1 colorless spirit creature token for each shrine I control. So if I have other shrines, to which I have 3, I get 3 spirit creatures out. Sunblade Samurai is a 4/4 creature with vigilance, but it has the channel ability for 2 mana, and discarding the Samurai, I can search my library for a basic plains card and put it into my hand. And I also gain 2 life, which is again another big deal because if I gain life, I gain +1/+1 counters. Golden Tail Disciple, straightforward. It's lifelink and it's a 2/3 creature, enchantment creature. It's very straightforward, very simple. I liked it. Starfield Mystic, which I got from the precons. Enchantment spells I cast cost 1 less to cast. So if I have that, Jukai, the other one. That means I can subtract 3 from 3 generic mana from my cards if I have them all out at once. But it has an extra ability. Whenever an enchantment I control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, I get a +1/+1 counter on Starfield Mystic. So he'll get pumped up on that. So go ahead, destroy my enchantments. He's not an enchantment creature. Oh, you have a Tranquility card? Oh, okay. Now he gets all these +1/+1 counters. Soul's Attendant. One half of what the internet calls the Soul Sisters. Soul's Attendant. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you may gain 1 life. That's a big deal for cards like Goshen Tai. and Helia, where I get to create creatures. I get 1 life, and then that'll trigger whenever I gain life effects and put +1/+1 counters. Same with Soul Warden. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, I gain 1 life. And again, they're not enchantment creatures, so you can't really target them with cards like Disenchant and and Naturalize. Windbrisk Raptor, which was put in, which is one of the, along with the Soul Sisters, the last remnants of the Ishimaru commander deck. It's a flying bird. Attacking creatures I control have lifelink. So if I attack with 5 plus, 5 creatures with 4 +1/+1 counters on it, they have lifelink. I get all that life back, and if I happen to have Nykthos out, where I gain more +1/+1 counters, yeah, you can see how the escalation goes. And Heron of Hope, which I got lucky in getting, it's flying. If you would gain life, you gain that much life +1 instead. So, again, it helps. It helps with the escalation. If I hit, it's a 2/3 creature. So, and for 2 mana, its ability has 2 mana. Heron of Hope gains lifelink. So if I turn into a life linker and hit for 2, I get 2 +1. That's 3. So there you go. And if I happen to have +1/+1 counters on it, that's going to even be more. Ajani's Pride Mate, which goes with the Soul Sisters a lot. Whenever you gain life, you may put a +1/+1 counter on Ajani's Pride Mate. So again, Heron of Hope, lifelink. I hit you for 4. I get to put 4 +1/+1 counters on Ajani's Pride Mate. And then if I have the Primal Rage out, the trample kicks in. Ondu Spirit Dancer. This is a new one that I added last week and tried to play it before it got stolen from me by a spell. It's a regular creature. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, you may create a token that's a copy of it. Do this once per turn. So if I play Primal Rage, an enchantment, though dumb as it is to do something like that, but let's say Hardened Scales. Hardened Scales. So if I play Hardened Scales, I can copy the Hardened Scales. Now I have 2 Hardened Scales, and I can add more tokens to my creatures. Another one that I added, which came from the precon, Felidar Retreat. It has Landfall, which is a new ability that I learned about. Whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, I get to choose one of these 2 effects. I could create a 2/2 white cat beast creature token, or put a +1/+1 counter on each creature I control, and those creatures gain vigilance until end of turn. Cathar's Crusade. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. So if I use Felidar's Retreat, bring in a beast creature, bam. Or Goshen Tai, more +1/+1 counters on all the creatures I control. Honden of Cleansing Fire. At the beginning of my upkeep, I gain 2 life for each shrine I control, and it's a shrine type. So if I have the other 2 shrines, I get to have 6 life. I get to gain 6 life with that. Ajani's Mantra. At the beginning of my upkeep, I gain 1 life. Very straightforward. True Conviction. I made sure I got my hands on this card. Big time. This came from a precon. Creatures you control have Double Strike and Lifelink. Yeah, Double Strike and Lifelink. And if I have Primal Rage out, they have Trample as well. And with all those +1/+1 counters. My sweep cards, basically like Wrath of Gods, that kind of stuff, Choco Hops. My sweep card here is Cataclysm, where each player chooses from the permanents he or she controls an artifact, a creature, enchantment, and a land, and sacrifices the rest. So you get to keep one of each card, and then the rest are wiped. The reason why I chose Cataclysm over Wrath of God and Armageddon is because I want to at least keep 1 card for myself. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to reset my my whole entire gains, because I am losing a lot. So if I have like a really, really good, powerful creature, you know what I'm saying, I can catch everyone off guard with that. Farewell, which I got from a card pack, so luckily. Choose 1 or more effects. You can exile all artifacts, exile all creatures, exile all enchantments, exile all graveyards. You could pick 1 or all of them. You know, as many as you want. They're yours. They're all yours to wipe. This one I just added today, called Sigil of the Empty Throne. When you cast an enchantment spell, create a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying. Basically, you get a Sarah Angel. And again, this will trigger, you know, the comes into play effects of my enchantment cards, and I get the boost. Swords to Plowshare, move target creature from the game. That creature to control gains life equal to its power. Great removal, great card removal from the old days. And this one is which version is this one? Oh yeah, this is the Homelands version of Swords to Plowshares. Disenchant, like Naturalize, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Here's Ethereal Haze that I was talking to you about. It's just only one white mana. Prevent all damage that will be dealt by creatures this turn. Artifacts. Arcane Signet. Add 1 mana of any color to your commander's color identity. Commander Sphere. Add 1 mana of any color to your commander's color identity. But I can sacrifice the Commander Sphere and draw a card. Sol Ring adds 2 generic mana. Hedron Archive, it adds 2 generic mana, and also I could tap 2 mana, tap this card, and sacrifice it and draw 2 cards. That was a mouthful there. Marble Diamond enters the battlefield tap. I could tap for 1 white mana. Moss Diamond, same thing, only I could do with green. Yeah, those were like the replacements for the Moxes. Angel's Feather, whenever any player, all 4 of your players, if they play a white spell, you gain 1 life. And Worm's Tooth is the same thing. Whenever any player plays casts a green spell, I gain 1 life. Not just only me. Then I added these 2 for fun because they can reduce the number the mana cost to play. And this is Walking Skyscraper, which has Trample. Walking Skyscraper has Hexproof as long as it's untapped. This spell costs 1 generic mana less to cast for each modified creature I control. So again, I have a whole bunch of +1/+1 counters on a bunch of cards. I don't have to pay the full 8 mana that it costs. I could it could turn out to be free, and I could drop a 8/8 creature for nothing. Then I have Tawashi Guidebot. Tawashi Guidebot into the battlefield. I get to put a +1/+1 counter. It plays like Jayamde's Tome. I pay 4 mana tap and I draw a card. However, this ability costs 1 generic mana less to activate for each modified creature I control. So the same thing. I have +1/+1 tokens. If 4 of them has it, I just tap for free. I don't have to pay any mana and I get a free card draw. Easy. So that is my Sythis commander deck update. That's the whole entire objective is to take advantage of those +1/+1 boosts that the enchantments allow me to cast. And turn my creatures into crazy monsters while I'm getting crazy life out of it. While I'm gaining crazy life out of it. I just want to take one quick note. This pilot token card is pretty freaking awesome. It really looks cool. I like this. I like the artwork on this. I want to find more of these. Alright, so the next commander deck is Silvos. This was the second deck that I built around the same time that I built my Sythis deck. It's all about the beasts, and exclusively it's really all about the beast. Originally I tried Selvala, and I played Selvala as my commander, and and as good as the card is, it's so situational. I didn't like it in the end, so I brought back Silvos because all I have to do is just pay 6 mana, and I bring out a big giant beefy trampling regenerating 8/5 killer. Basically. My lands are fairly simple. It's just 34 forests and the Urza lands. Originally, I only had the mine, the power plant. I needed the Urza's tower, so I was lucky enough to have been able to purchase that one to complete the Urza set. I found out that when you have these 3 cards, they're known as an Urzatron or Voltron, because of the fact that it's like the anime show Voltron, where you're combining things together. So whenever you have these 3 cards in your deck, people tend to call it Urzatron or Voltron, which is very interesting. So I'm gonna do this backwards here. We're gonna start with the artifacts and work our way up to the beast here. So I have the standard Hedron Archive. I have Sythis Ring, which lets me draw 2 colorless mana. Thran Dynamo, which lets me tap for 3 colors mana. Worn Power Stone, which lets me get 2 colors mana. And Sol Ring, which lets me get 2 colors mana. So for this particular deck, because of how much the beasts cost, I put those particular artifacts in there because they all generate 2 or more mana, as opposed to say Mind Stone, which is a very 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 good card to have in your deck because you can also draw a card. But it only gives me 1 mana. But because of the sheer cost of the beasts on the generic mana side, I chose to make sure that every single artifact I had produced 2 or 3 generic mana with very little drawbacks, and all 5 of them have 0 drawbacks. I don't have to pay pain or anything. Here's Naturalize, as you've seen before. Rare Away is another Naturalize. It has an effect called Splice onto Arcane, but that's a very rare Kamigawa effect, and in that, they didn't return in Neon Dynasty, thank goodness. It's such a weird, wonky ability. But it's just a straightforward disenchant, destroy one, or destroy an artifact or enchantment. Evolutionary Leap. I was surprised that I had this card. I'm not sure how I even got this card. Nevertheless, what this card is that I tap for green, sacrifice a creature, and I reveal cards from the top of my library until I reveal a creature card, and I put that card into my hand. The rest of the cards that I had drawn out to the bottom of my library in random order. So I don't lose cards and I gain a creature, but it goes to my hand directly. I added this today to complement it. I was in and out about it, but I figured let me just go ahead and do it anyway. It's called Call of the Wild. If I pay 4 mana, I reveal the top card of my library. If it's a creature card, I put it into play. Otherwise, I put that card into the graveyard. It's a very, very, very risky move because I will lose a card in doing so. But there's at least one little benefit, and that is that I have Crows and Beast, which has Threshold, but it's not really saying much because it's the only card that has Threshold. If I had leaned into Threshold creatures like the Nimble Mongoose and who else? The Springing Tiger, they would have benefited with Threshold, but I don't have that many. Well, I do have Threshold creatures, but not as many. It's not very, not enough for a commander deck. Respite. Creatures deal no combat damage this turn. I gain 1 life for each attacking creature. Fog, which stops creatures from happening. Garruk's Uprising. It's when Garruk's Uprising enters the battlefield, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, I draw a card. It's like Primal Rage. All my creatures get trampled. And whenever a creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under my control, I draw a card. So no matter what, I'm going to be drawing cards so long as I draw big creatures, and I have big creatures. And with Call of the Wild, and with the help of Call of the Wild, I could be able to drop a creature for free, because I could put it out on the battlefield for free, according to Call of the Wild. It goes into play, and that will trigger Garruk's ability, and that I'll get to draw a card, so long as the power of my beast is 4 or greater, and I have plenty enough 4 or greater to pull that off. I added this one today too, Spider Silk Armor, in which my creatures get +0/+1 on the toughness side, but they also get reach, so I can block those flyers, those pesky flyers, because I don't have any flyers to help me out. I should have put the flyers in, perhaps. I should have thought about that. I didn't think about that. I should have done that. Nature Spiral. I get to, this is a recovery card. I could return a permanent card from the graveyard to my hand. So, if I Call of the Wild and I lose a card, I can get it back. Fungal Rebirth, same thing. It's a permanent card. I return from the graveyard to my hand. But if a creature died this turn, I get to create 2/1/1 green Saproling creature tokens on top of that. Revive, just return a target green card from the graveyard to my hand. Since this is a mono green deck, that's perfect. Momentum, at the beginning of my upkeep, I may put a growth counter on Momentum. Enchanted creatures get +1/+1 for each growth counter on Momentum. So, yeah, it's a ramp every turn. There's no reason why I shouldn't put +1/+1 counters on it. Predatory Hunger. Whenever any opponent successfully casts a creature spell, and they will, and you have 3 opponents, I get to put a +1/+1 counter on the enchanted creature that this card is attached to. Hydra's Growth, an enchant creature. When Hydra's Growth enters the battlefield, I put a +1/+1 counter on enchanted creature, and then at the beginning of my upkeep, I double the number of +1/+1 counters on enchanted creature. So, yeah, it escalates. Nature's Lore, search a library for a forest card and put that into play. Rampant Growth, search my library for a basic card and put that into play. Untamed Wild, search my deck for a basic land card and put that into play. Far Wanderings, search my library for a basic land card and put that card into play tapped, then shuffle my library. This has a threshold. So instead, I search my library for 3 basic land cards and put them into play tapped, then shuffle your library. So again, Call of the Wild helps it out a little bit with those discards, those sent to the graveyards. Deep Reconnaissance, search my library for a basic land and put that into play, but it also has the flashback ability, in which I can play this card from the graveyard for its flashback cost. It's 5 mana, but the fact that I can pay it off from the graveyard and I can get another land immediately is a very good. It's a very good card. Overgrowth, enchanted land produces 2, an additional 2 land, 2 mana, additional. So I get to tap for 3 mana with that. Wild Growth, I get to add 1 mana, 1 extra mana, so I get to tap for 2. Grafted Growth enters the battlefield. I get a +1/+1 counter on a creature or vehicle, and I can add 2 mana of any color when I tap it. When I tap the enchanted land. Fertile Ground, same thing. I get to add 1 mana of any color to the mana pool. New Horizons, enchant land, similar to the other one. When New Horizons enters the battlefield, I get a +1/+1 counter on a target creature, and then I can add 2 of any color. So it's very interesting that they made the same 2 cards, one called New Horizons and one Grafted Growth. So having these 2 is great, especially because they generate 2 mana. They can generate 2 mana. This one I added today. I decided to go with Death Touch with these guys rather than flying. And I guess that's because of the fact that I have the spider silk armor. But this is acidic slime. It has Death Touch, and when acidic slime enters the battlefield, I get to destroy an enchantment, artifact, or land. Artifact, enchantment, or land gets destroyed when it enters the field. So this is a good creature kill, and it's got Death Touch. Deadly Recluse has Reach and Death Touch. And I brought in Fang of Shigeki, which has Death Touch. Thunder, now in this one I added dinosaurs, 5 dinosaurs, because these were the only 5 dinosaurs I got. Thundering Spineback. Other dinosaurs you control get +1/+1, and for 6 mana I can create a 3/3 green dinosaur creature with trample. Colossal Dreadmaw just has trample, 6/6 for 6 mana. Pretty good for 6 mana to get a 6/6 creature and trample. Normally, these type of creatures would get 7 mana or higher when having a 6/6. Ornery Dilophosaur, it has Death Touch, so I got 4 Death Touchers going on. Whenever Ornery Dilophosaur attacks, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, the Ornery Dilophosaur gets +2/+2, and I got plenty of 4/4 creatures, 4 power creatures to work with. And this one is the Oraska Frillback. It's just a straightforward 4/2 for 3 mana. No abilities or anything. Pretty good card, actually, for 3 mana. Drowsing Pteranodon. It's a defender, but as long as you control a creature with power 4 or greater, which I do, Drowsing Pteranodon can attack as though it didn't have defender. So it loses defender if I have a power 4 or higher creature. So, and it's a 3/3 for 2 mana, which is pretty good. Totem Speaker. Whenever a beast comes into play, I gain 3 life, and I have a lot of beasts. Ivy Lane Denizen. Whenever another green creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Sky Shroud Troopers. Add 1 to green to the mana pool. Play this ability as a mana source. It's a little expensive because it's 4 mana, but that's because he's a 3/3 creature, which is pretty good. If I need to block small weenies, I can use that without risking any of my bigger creatures or any important creatures for that matter. And being the 3/3. Llanowar Visionary. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card, and I get to channel mana with this. I could tap for mana. It's very easy. 2/2 creature. Fintor Eldor. I get 2 mana. I could tap it for 2 mana. And of course, Llanowar Elves. We know what that does. Then I have this one. I never heard of this one before. I was very interested, and I actually enjoyed it when I played it. This is Joraga Tree Speaker. It has an ability called Level Up for 2 mana. 1 generic, 1 green. And it gets a level counter. And when it levels up, it gets more abilities. So here, when it gets to level 1, when I pay, I get to add 2 green mana to my mana pool. And if I could get it to level 5, if I tap the level up cost and get up to level 5, then all the elves I control get to tap for 2 mana. Gets to tap for 2 mana, which means I could tap for 2 mana with the Totem Speaker and still get the 4 life when I play the beast. So let's get to the beasts here. We'll work our way down from the biggest to the smallest. So this is Koqui-san Cloud Scraper. At the beginning of my upkeep, sacrifice the Cloud Scraper unless I pay 2. It has a morph ability where I play it face down for 3 mana and then pay its morph cost, which is not exactly cheap. It doesn't really get any cheaper. It's just 7 generic mana and 2 green. It costs 7 generic mana and 3 green. And it's a 13/13 creature. A lot of people, rightfully so, pointed out that it should have had reach, being that it's supposed to be that big. Koqui-san Colossus, as well as the Walking Skyscraper. Koqui-san Colossus, it's another one with morph. It's a 9/9 creature. It's a 3 green, 6 mana, and it has a morph cost, which is just only 1 green less than what it is. Colonian Behemoth. It has Shroud, 9/9 creature. Enormous Baloth, just a straightforward beast for 7 mana, 7/7 creature. Hondrog. It has Cycling 3, which I could discard the card and draw a card, which is good. It's a 4/7 creature for 7 mana, but the cycling really helps out if I need to draw a card. Brontotherium. It's got Trample and Provoke. Provoke. When this attacks, you may have target creature defending player controls untap and block it if able. It's a 5/3 creature, but it has to trample. So yeah. Affectionate Indrik. This is a new one that I got. It was from the Jump Starts. It's a 4/4 creature for 6 mana, but it has this ability here. When Affectionate Indrik enters the battlefield, you may have it fight target creature you don't control. Each deals damage equal to its power to the other. Basically, think Yu-Gi-Oh, where the monsters attack each other directly. That's basically what you're doing with the Affectionate Indrik. You're just attacking creature directly rather than your opponent directly. Giant Warhog, straightforward 5/5 trampler for 6 mana. Adaptive Snapjaw. This is a new ability that I was introduced to. It's called Evolve. Whenever a creature enters a battlefield under your control, if that creature has greater power or toughness, then this creature put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. It's a 6/2 creature, so that means that if I put a creature with a toughness of say 3, it gets a +1/+1 counter, and it escalates along the way. And given that I have a lot of very, very powerful beasts, they're gonna get more and more powerful. Then I have Berserk Morlodont. When it's blocked, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each creature blocking it. As one pointed out, it's a reverse Rampage, an old defunct ability that stinks. Histrodon, it has a morph ability, which is a 3 cost to flip. It has Trample 3/4, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, I draw a card. So get that thing pumped. Nylea's Forerunner. It's an enchantment creature. I did put it in my enchantment deck, but I was like, you know what? It's better to put it in my beast deck so I can have tramplers. So they can be chum tramplers. And that's all it does. It's got trample, 5/3, and other creatures I control have trample. So it helps out. Next up is the Snarling Undrak, which also has a morph ability. I could tap 3 mana, and target beast gets +1/+1 until end of turn. It's a 3/3 creature. So there's a lot of morphing going on here. Ravenous Baloth. I sacrifice a beast. I get 4 life. So a good desperation move. Here's the Frozen Beast I was talking about, the Squirrel Beast. When I have Threshold, which is if I have 7 cards in my graveyard, its effect activates, and Frozen Beast gets +7/+7. So for 4 mana, I'm dropping a 1/1 creature. But if I have 7 cards in my graveyard, then I'll get an 8/8 creature for 4 mana. Very, very powerful. Sylvan Brush Strider. When Brush Strider enters the battlefield, I gain 2 life, which is okay. That's a 3/2 creature. Lyried Fog Beast. When Lyried Fog Beast becomes blocked, prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn. Only when it becomes blocked, though. So I have to be on the attack. And finally, the Inured Scavenger. It has protection from black. And at the beginning of my upkeep, sacrifice Scavenger and the Scavenger unless I put a card from my graveyard to the bottom of the library. So this is a great recovery card for an upkeep cost. That's why I don't have that many thresholds to begin with. So that's my Silvos commander deck. That's my Silvos commander deck, which is pretty cool. And this here is originally this deck. This deck was originally the Prismatic Piper and one other creature. I forgot the name of that black creature. But I needed help because blue and black is not my strong colors, but I wanted to do it anyway. So it's a little bit on the jank side, but this is basically a straightforward artifact ninja deck. It's all about the artifacts, all about the ninjas. So I met this guy who's like some top tier commander, and he went through my deck and he helped me work a baseline. So it's up to me to upgrade this card. Right now I'm using. He told me to just use Kotose instead of those two. She's not a very good commander, but she's just a holdover because she's blue black and I'm playing blue black, and I needed a creature that's blue black. So if you want to know what she does, she's a human ninja. When Kotose, the Silent Spider, enters the battlefield, exile target card other than a basic land from an opponent's graveyard. Search that player's graveyard, hand, and library for any number of cards with the same name as that card and exile them. Then that player shuffles, and for as long as you control Kotose, you may play one of the exile cards, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast. So yeah, let's say for example, my opponent decided to bring out a Shivan Dragon. I can exile it, and then I can take the Shivan Dragon and put it under my control. That's what she does. But the problem is that she searches for other copies of that card, and in Commander, there's only one copy of that card. Hence why it says non-lands. So yeah, it does have its uses, but I'm just not feeling it. What I want to get, and I found out, the card's name is Satoru Umezawa. It works with enchantments, and it works with artifacts as an ability, and on top of that, it can make all the creatures in my hand have ninjutsu, which is really freaking awesome. I'm not sure how hard fought it is, but search that card is. But anyway, basically my whole deck revolves around artifacts and ninjutsu. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So I got 13 swamps and 13 islands, and my non-basic lands is Terramorphic Expanse, which lets me search for a land. Lonely Sandbar, which lets me, which I can cycle to draw a card, and gives me blue mana. The Mirror Guildgate, which enters the battlefield tapped, and it gives me blue and a black. Drowned Catacombs. It enters the battlefield tapped unless I control an island or a swamp, which is easy to get to put out there, and it gives me blue and a black. Takanuma Abandoned Mine gives me it's a legendary land, lets me tap for black, but I can also channel for 4 mana and discard the card, this card, Takanuma, and I can mill 3 cards, then return a creature or planeswalker card from my graveyard to my hand. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each legendary creature I control, so it gets a little cheaper, but yeah, it's a graveyard manipulation thing. Remote Isle has cycling, which lets me draw a card, and I can tap for blue. Bad River is a very old card. We're talking, this is Mirage? Yeah, this is from Mirage. Bad River comes into play tap. If I tap and sacrifice, I can search for an island or land. So it's a Terramorphic Expanse for island and swamp. Thriving More. When it enters the battlefield, I could choose another color, so I can take blue and I could get black and blue. Same for Thriving Isle. Only only it's a blue color, but I can pick black and have blue black to tap for that. Mistvault Bridge enters the battlefield tapped. It's indestructible. It's an artifact land and lets me tap for blue black. And Dismal Backwater enters tapped. I gain a life and I can get blue and black with that. So those are my non-lands, my non-basic lands. All right. So I have Jayam De Tome, which lets me draw a card for 4 mana and a tap. Crawl Space, no more than 2 creatures can attack me each combat. So it's a good little attack, battle control there, field control. Sensei's Divining Top. I have a couple. I have 2 of these, but I threw it into this one. Lets me look at the top 3 cards in my library, then put them back, and then I can tap the card itself, and draw a card and put the Divining Top. It's very, very powerful. Everybody says if you have it, put it in. Sky Diamond, enter the battlefield tap, and I get to tap for blue. Charcoal Diamond, this is a Mirage version. Comes with play tap, and I could get black when I tap it. Mind Stone, add 1 colorless mana to the mana pool, and I can sacrifice the Mind Stone to draw a card. Thran Dynamo lets me get 3 mana. Worn Power Stone lets me get 2 mana. Ashnote's Altar, if I sacrifice a creature, I get to get 2 mana for that. Sol Ring, of course, 2 mana, staple. You're going to be seeing a lot of Sol Rings in my commander decks, I could tell you that much. So now we're going to the artifact creatures. I got Skittering Surveyor. It enters the battlefield. I can search my library for a basic land card and put it into my hand. Workshop Assistant. When it dies, I get to return another target artifact creature from the graveyard to my hand. So I got Recovery. Shimmer Mirror. It's got Flash, and I may cast artifact spells as though they had Flash. So all of my artifacts can be played as an instant. Burnished Heart. If I sacrifice it, I can search up to 2 lands and put them out to the battlefield. Basic lands, 2 basic lands, and I can search the battlefield with them. Circuit Mender. When it enters the battlefield, I gain 2 life. When it leaves the battlefield, I draw a card. So, here we go. Guardian Koilos. Enter the battlefield. I may return another target historic permanent I control to... you may return another target historic permanent you control to its owner's hand. Artifacts, legendaries, and sagas. That's what a historic is. Which means if I wanted to like spam certain effects that come into play, this is it. Pilgrim's Eye, Flying. When it enters the battlefield, I can search for a basic land and put that to my hand. So I could Koilos this card back, pay 3, and then search for another land. So it helps me get lands faster. Sky Scanner. When it enters the battlefield, I could draw a card. Again, if I do Koilos, I could bounce it back up, play it again, and I get to draw another card. It's a flyer. Tortured Existence. Tap for black, choose and discard a creature card. Turn target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Okay. It's a recovery card. It's fine. I have here an enchantment saga, each called the Eldest Reborn. First turn, each opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker. Turn 2, each opponent discards a card. And turn 3, put target creature or planeswalker from a graveyard onto the battlefield under my control. Any graveyard. I could steal my opponent's creatures, basically. Death to the Kami, instant, draw, I get to choose one of the effects. Target opponent exiles a creature they control, or target opponent exiles an enchantment they control. So it's a creature, it's a card removal. Dark Ritual, a must-have in every card that involves black. You just get 3 mana to the mana pool. Demonic Tutor, search your library for 1 card and take it into my hand, then reshuffle the library afterwards. Very, very old card. Diabolic Tutor, search my library for a card and put that card into my hand, then shuffle the library. Victimize, choose 2 target creatures in my graveyard, sacrifice a creature. If you do, put the 2 chosen creatures into play tapped. Okay, so it's a recovery. Invoke Despair, target opponent sacrifices a creature. If they can't, they lose 2 life and you draw a card. Then repeat this process for an enchantment and a planeswalker. It's very, very, very powerful. It's banned in Magic Arena. Undercity Scrounger. I tap it, I create a treasure token, activate only if a creature died. Now, this is something that I learned. This is a new thing that I learned for me. Treasure is an artifact with tap ability. Sacrifice this artifact at 1 mana of any color. So the treasure is an artifact that gives me mana when I tap it and sacrifice it. Chainflail Centipede. Whenever a Chainflail Centipede or equipped creature attacks, it gets +2/+0. So this is an artifact creature, but it's also an equipment creature. This is something new that I learned. It has the ability called Reconfigure, which is new. So if I pay 2, I can turn Chainflail Centipede into an equipment card and attach it to another. And it's an equipment. So if I understand correctly, does it act like an equipment? Given that it's got the equipment type? Well, either way, attaches to a creature, and the creature gets those effects. Virus Beetle. When Virus Beetle enters the battlefield, each opponent discards a card. Not me. Leech Gauntlet, Lifelink. It's an equipment creature, an artifact creature equipment. Lifelink, equipped creature has lifelink, so if I equip it, my creature has lifelink. Reconfigure 4 to attach. It'll cost me 4 to attach that card. He's a ninja, ogre ninja, Dokuchi Shadow Walker, just straight up ninjutsu. For 4 mana, it's a 5/5. Biting Palm Ninja with ninjutsu for 3. Biting Palm Ninja into the battlefield with a menace counter on it. Whenever Biting Palm Ninja deals combat damage to the player, I may remove a menace counter from it. When I do, that player reveals their hand and chooses a non-land card from it, and they exile. That's why it's called the Biting Hand. Dokuchi Silencer, another ninja, ninjutsu. Whenever Silencer deals combat damage to the player, you may discard a creature card. When you do, destroy target creature or planeswalker that player controls. So they got something that's causing problems. I can discard a card and get rid of theirs. Inkrise Infiltrator. It's a ninja, but doesn't have a ninjutsu. It has flying, and for 4 mana, it could get +2/+2. So it could turn into a 3/4 flying creature, which is pretty good for a ninja. Nezumi Prowler, Rat Ninja. It's got ninjutsu. When it enters the battlefield, target creature you control gains Death Touch and Lifelink until end of turn. So if I'm doing multiple attacks, I bring out the Rat Ninja, and I can make the other creature have Lifelink and Death Touch. Mukutai Ambusher, Rat Ninja. It's got ninjutsu and lifelink for 3/2. Now we're in the blues. Levitation. All creatures I control gain flying. Ever-watching Threshold. Whenever an opponent attacks, if they attack you and or a planeswalker you control, I draw a card. So every time I get attacked, I get to draw a card. Bident of Thessa, a legendary enchantment artifact. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to the player, you may draw a card. Tap 2 mana and discard creatures you control. Creatures your opponents control attack this turn if able. Okay. Very interesting. Anticipate. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. Put one of them into your hand. The rest in the bottom of your library. Very effective. Factor Fiction. A classic. A staple for blues. Reveal the top 5 cards of your library. An opponent separates those cards into 2 piles. Put 1 pile into your hand, the other into your, the rest into your library. And remember, I have recovery cards, so it doesn't really matter. Brainstorm, draw 3 cards, then put any 2 cards from your hand on top of your library in any order. So you could keep the 3 cards you draw and put the other 2 cards back to the top of your library. You'll have to redraw them, but the point is that if the 3 cards that you draw are the 3 cards you really need, then you want to keep the 3 cards you need. Impulse, look at the top 4 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library. Repulse, return target creature to its owner's hand, draw a card. Counterspell, counter target spell, a classic of Magic. Dismiss, counter target spell, then draw a card. Memory Lapse, counter target spell, put it on top of its owner's library instead of into the player's graveyard. A great draw stall. Fairy Formation, fairy creature, flying, 4 mana, create a 1/1 blue fairy creature with token with flying, and draw a card. So I'll always constantly get a creature and a card draw, as long as I keep tapping for 4. Cloud of Fairies, flying. When Cloud of Fairies come to the play, I get to untap 2 lands, and it's got cycling to draw a card with. The untap 2 lands is a big thing. Mana War, very classic, from Visions, comes into play and return target creature to owner's hand. Equipment, artifact, creature, equipment, beast, guard familiar. It's got a new effect called Ward 2. So whenever this permanent becomes the target of a spell ability an opponent controls, counter it unless that player pays 2. So it's kind of like a mana leak. The ward effect is basically a mana leak. Equipped creature gets +2/+1 and has Ward 2. The reconfigured cost to attach is 4. Acquisition Octopus, artifact creature equipment Octopus. Whenever acquisition Octopus or equipped creature deals combat damage to the player, I draw a card, reconfigure 2. So another easy card draw there. Ethereum Sculptor is an artificer. Artifact spells I cast cost 1 less to cast. So that helps out all of my artifacts. Mirror Shell Crab, another artifact creature, Ward 3. For channel, 3 mana, and discarding it, I can counter target spell or ability unless its controller pays 3. Ability, I can counter an ability if it's triggered or activated, and it only costs me 3. So basically, it's a mana leak, but with the ability to stop abilities. The Reality Chip. This was a card that I originally wanted to make my commander, but I didn't want mono blue. Basically, it's a legendary artifact creature, equipment jellyfish. I want a commander jellyfish. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. As long as the reality chip is attached to a creature, you may play lands and cast spells from the top of your library. Reconfigure for 3 mana. So that's what makes this so cool. Because I can peek all the time at the top of my deck, and then I can spend mana to then I could just cast spells right off the top. Futurist Operative. As long as Futurist Operative is tapped, it's a human citizen with a base power and toughness of 1/1, and it can't be blocked. And I can spend 3 mana to untap it. So if it's tapped, it's a 1/1 creature, but I can untap it and turn it into and bring it back to being a 3/4 and have a blocker to work with. Prosperous Thief, Ninjutsu 2. Oh yeah, does this have Ninjutsu? Oh, I'm surprised it doesn't have Ninjutsu. Oh, I don't know why I thought it had Ninjutsu, but that's fine. It's still a great effect, you know, because it doesn't get blocked. Ninjutsu, Prosperous Thief, Ninjutsu. Whenever one or more ninja or rogue creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, create a treasure token, which is why the Futurist Operative is great because it can't be blocked. So I get to create a treasure token as many times as I want with the help of Prosperous Thief. Moonsnare Specialist, Ninjutsu. When it enters the battlefield, return up to 1 target creature to its owner's hands, so I can bounce an opponent. Moon Circuit Hacker, Ninjutsu. When hacker deals combat damage to a player, I draw a card, and if I do, discard a card unless the hacker entered the battlefield this turn. Thousand Face Shadow, Ninjutsu, flying. It enters the battlefield from my hand. If it's attacking, create a token that's a copy of another target attacking creature, and the token enters the battlefield tapped and attacking. So it's a clone. Covert Technician, Ninjutsu. Covert Technician deals combat damage to a player. You may put an artifact card with mana value less or equal to that damage from the hand. And I got Diabolic Vision. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. Put one of them into your hand, and the rest on top of your library in any order. And finally, Silver Fur Master, Ninjutsu. Ninjutsu abilities that I activate cost 1 less to activate, and other ninja and rogue creatures get 1/1. So that is my blue-black artifact ninja deck. Alright, so let's get to building. My latest deck. I can't believe this took a long time. That's what happens when you have 300 cards to go through, and then you got to build another 100. So let's close this out here. We got, all right. My commander is Kotori Prodigy. Okay, here are my islands and my planes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11, 12, 13, 14. So right now I'm starting with 14 islands and 14 planes. Okay, that's what I'm starting with at the moment. 14 islands, 14 planes. Let me see here. Here we go. Here we go. Okay. For my non-basic lands, Okay, I got Tranquil Cove. Enter the battlefield, you gain 1 life. Enter the battlefield tapped. Let me set her down here. How's that? Yeah, okay. So here's Tranquil Cove. Of course, Command Tower. Temple of Enlightenment. When it comes to play tapped, it comes to the battlefield tapped, and I get to scry one. It gives me white and blue. Prairie Stream. It comes into play tapped unless I have 2 or more basic lands. I get white and blue. Port Town enters the battlefield. You may reveal plains or island card from my hand. If I don't, it comes into play tapped. Exotic Overland. I think I'm gonna put that to the side. It says add 1 mana of any color, but I don't really need to do that for any color. I already have Port Town. Prairie Stream. I already put that out there. Yeah, I already put Prairie Stream out there. Thriving Isle. Let me set that to the side. What's this one here? Temple of Enlightenment. I think they have multiple copies of these. I don't need Temple of Enlightenment. Coastal Tower. I don't have Coastal Tower yet. This is a battlefield tap and it gives me white and blue. Meandering River comes into play tap and it gives me white and blue. Refuge, Sajiri Refuge. It gives me 1 life. It comes with play tap and it's got white and blue. Tranquil Cove. I think I already have that. Yeah, I already have that. Survivor's Encampment. I'm setting that to the side. Adakar Waste. If I gives me a generic mana, but I'll take 1 damage if I tap for white and blue. I'm definitely gonna put that in there. Mech Hanger, because I'm gonna be playing vehicles. I'm gonna need Mech Hanger. So far so good. I don't really. I mean, I could use Seafloor, but I think I have. There's Thriving Heath also. Let me see here. Did I put in one of the Thriving cards? Probably. Path of Ancestry. So how many? Let me see here. Let me get the land count here. 1, 2. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I got room for 1 more. Let's see here. Should I go with let's see. Oh, here's the Thriving Isle. Yeah, okay, so I'll throw in the Thriving cards too. I know a lot of you probably say will probably comment that there's better cards than Thriving Isle, but I'm not exactly making a super powerful deck here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna reduce the numbers down here. So we're gonna go with 12 plains, 12 islands, and 12 non-basic lands for a total of 36. Let's do that, and then we'll see later if I need to make adjustments, any necessary adjustments. Okay. Here we go. All right. So let me first start off with the vehicles, because this whole deck is going to revolve around the vehicles because that's what Kotori does. Let's see here. Let me just put the plains and the islands here. All right. So I'll put you guys right there. Actually, I could put you all together like that. There we go. Put my 3 there. Okay. And I'll put that over here. The cards that I'm not going to use. So let me see here. Okay, here we are. Here are my vehicles. Okay, here are the vehicles I have. I got Colossal Plow. Whenever Colossal Plow attacks, add green and gain 3 life. Until end of turn, you don't lose this mana as steps in, phases, ends. It's got a crew 6. It's 2 mana to drop. Now the way the vehicles work is that they have this thing called crew, and you gotta work the crew out. You gotta tap creatures whose power combined power equals the crew number, the crew cost, and then the vehicle becomes an artifact creature that you can attack. Let's see here. Imposter mech. You may have a imposter mech enter the battlefield as a copy of a creature an opponent controls, except it's a vehicle artifact with crew 3 and it loses all other card types. And it's that one will cost blue. Surge Hacker Mech. It has Menace. Enters the battlefield. It deals damage equal to twice the number of vehicles you control to the target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. Peace Walker Colossus. For 2 mana, another target vehicle you control becomes an artifact creature until end of turn. So it could turn my other vehicles into artifact creatures based on this effect. And it's only 2 mana, so I can tap for many. This might be a good card to to go with. Excuse me. So I'll throw that in there to start. Okay. I'm probably going to start with 10 vehicles and probably work my way down. Cultivator's Caravan. I get to add 1 mana of any color. And it's got a crew 3/5/5. I'll definitely take that for the mana. Smuggler's Copter. Whenever attacks or blocks, I draw a card. And if I do, I discard a card. It's a flyer. Let me hold off on that. Dragonfly Suit. It only has 1 crew flying. And it's a straightforward 3/2. So, yeah, I'll throw that in there. Prodigy's Prototype. Whenever 1 or more vehicles I control attack, create a 1/1 colorless pilot creature token with this creature accrues vehicles as though its power were 2 or greater. I'll definitely add that. Anything to create pilot creatures that can help me pilot things. Aerial Surveyor attacks. If defending player controls more lands than you, search your library for basic lands in play. This is too situational, so I'm not going to put that in there. Raider's Carve. Whenever Raider's Carve attacks, look at the top card of your library. If it's a land you may put into play tapped. And that's it. Doesn't say anything else, no discards or anything. Pretty good card. It could get me a land. High Speed Hover Bike. Flash, flying. When hover bike enters the battlefield, tap up to 1 target creature. Crew 1. The whole tap thing, I don't know why they still lean into that when players can just tap. This is another Surge Hacker Mech. Mindlink Mech. Flying. Whenever Mindlink Mech becomes crewed for the first time each turn until end of turn, Mindlink Mech becomes a copy of target line's legendary creature that crewed it this turn, except it's a 4/3, it's a vehicle artifact creature, and it has flying. So this thing basically is a copycat. Lets me copy whatever creature deals with. Futurist Sentinel. It's a 4 mana. It's a 6/6 and easy crew 3. That's going in. I already have that one. Thundersteel Colossus. It's 7 mana. Has Trample Haste. It only needs 2 power to crew it for the 7/7 creature. I already got Prodigy's Prototype in there. Mobilizer Mech. Whenever Mobilizer Mech becomes crewed, up to 1 other target vehicle you control becomes an artifact creature until end of turn. It's got flying. So, yeah, this is another good one. Did I already put Mobilizer Mech in there? Or was that a different card? No, that's a different card. Yeah, that's Peace Walker Colossus. So, that along with the Mobilizer Mech is pretty... That's pretty sharp, having those 2. Imperial Battery Unit. Whenever Imperial Battery Recovery Unit attacks, return target creature or vehicle card with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to your hand. It's a recovery card, but it's a little too situational. Brute Suit Vigilance. It only needs 1 to crew. It's a 4/3. Definitely going in there. I already have Mobilizer Mech. Mech Titan Core artifact vehicle. For 5 mana, I exile Mech Titan Core and 4 other artifact creatures and or vehicles I control. I create Mech Titan, a legendary 10/10 construct artifact creature token with flying, vigilance, trample, lifelink, and haste. That's all the colors. And when that token leaves the battlefield, I return all cards exiled with Mech Titan Core, this card, except the Mech Titan Core to the... sorry. The other 4 cards return from exile, but the Mech Titan Core remains exiled. and they come back tapped under my control, and it's a crew too, so it's definitely going in here. I already have Dragonfly Suit and Futurist Sentinel in there. Shotokai Genesis Engine, which came with the pre-con deck. Pay 1, tap this card, draw 2 cards, and discard a card. Create a 1/1 colorless pilot creature token with this creature crew's vehicle is though it's power 2, and it takes 8 to crew. And not only that, but this thing could be my commander if I wanted to. But I'm not. It's going to be Kotori. So yeah, this is going in. Parhelion 2, it's got flying, first strike, vigilance. Whenever Parhelion 2 attacks, I create 2 4/4 white angel creature tokens with flying and vigilance that are attacking. So this card creates 2 Sarah Angels, and it takes 4 to crew. So yeah, I'm throwing that in there. Weatherlight. Ooh, the Weatherlight. Flying. Whenever Weatherlight deals combat damage, I look at the top 5 cards of my library, reveal a historic card from among them, and put it into my hand. Put the rest at the bottom in any random order. Historic cards are artifacts, legendaries, and sagas. This is actually good. That's going in here. And Sky Sovereign Console Flagship Flying. Whenever a Sky Sovereign Console Flagship enters the battlefield, attack it deals 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. Sure, that's going in there. Okay, so it looks like I put everything in there. I feel like I just put everything in there. So, alright. No problem. So these vehicles are out. And these vehicles are in. I might have put too many vehicles in there, but you know what? I'll start off like that and work my way through. Maybe I might not even have to get rid of any of them. After all, the whole point is for them to be in there. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So I got 15 vehicles. So we'll start there with 15 vehicles. We'll start with 15 vehicles and see what happens from there. All right. So we're going to need some pilots. I have the Aeronaut Admiral. It's got flying, and vehicles I control have flying. There we go. Kitsune Ace. So the creatures that I probably want to get in there are foxes and creature artificers and ninjutsus. Ninjas. Because I'm going to do first strike. That's why I have the ninjas. So Kitsune Ace, it's a fox pilot. Whenever a creature I control attacks, choose 1. Vehicle gains first strike until end of turn, or untap Kitsune Ace. So again, if I have ninjutsu and I have first strike, I can swap the vehicle because it's an artifact creature at that point, and I could drop the ninjutsu on there. Hotshot Mechanic is an artifact creature. It crews vehicles as though it's power 2 or greater. Very quick drop and everything. So that's all the pilots I got. So those ones are going in. Now for the artificers, because they kind of caught my attention here, and they're going in. So automated artificer, add 1, spend this mana only to activate an ability or cast an artifact. I'm not sure if this is really worth the trouble, because I don't, even though I'm going to have a lot of artifacts, it's not going to be, I don't think it's going to be that helpful. Well, no. Well, in terms of generating mana, you know what I'm saying? Whirler Rogue enters the battlefield. This is Whirler Rogue. When it enters the battlefield, I get 2 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature tokens with flying. Tap 2 untap artifacts I control. The target creature can't be blocked this turn. So that's going in. The Artificer's going in. Valdikin Engineer, I get to add 2 mana of any one color and spend this mana only to cast artifact spells or activate abilities or artifacts. Let me set that to the side with the Artificer, the other one. I might use both of them, I don't know. Scholar of Stars, when Scholar of Stars enters the battlefield, if you control an artifact, draw a card. Very straightforward. I don't know. I'll probably put it in there, only because I could draw a card. Replication Specialist, Artificer, flying. Whenever a non-token artifact enters the battlefield under my control, I can pay 2, and if I do, create a token that's a copy of that artifact. So if I play one of my vehicles, I can copy a vehicle for 2 mana, and that's a big deal. Psymaster Thopterist, whenever I cast an artifact spell, create a 1/1 Thopter artifact creature token with flying. I can sacrifice 2 artifacts along with 2 mana, tapping 2 mana, and I get to draw a card. That's pretty good for an Artificer. Uh, Katsumasa the Animator. It's a legendary creature, artificer, flying, tap 2, tap 3 mana. Until end of turn, target non-creature artifact you control becomes an artifact creature, gains flying. If it's not a vehicle, it has base power and toughness 1/1 until end of turn. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 3 targets. So the artificer can turn my can add turn my vehicles into an artifact creature as planned, and do crazy things. Riddlesmith. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, I draw a card, and then if I do, I discard a card. And then I have Mirrorsmith. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, you may pay 1. If you do, create a 1/1 colorless mirror artifact creature token. So that's a good way to get some creatures on there. As for these two, I don't know yet if I want them. I gotta let me wait and see when I put in the mana rocks and my ninjas. So let's start with the ninjas. I got Blade Blizzard Kitsune. It's got Ninjutsu 4 and Double Strike. Moose Snare Specialist. Here, I'll go with I'll go with this one. Ninjutsu 3 enters the battlefield, return up to 1 target creature to the battlefield. Prosperous Thief, Ninjutsu 2. Whenever one or more ninja creatures attack, I get to create a treasure token. Moon Circuit Hacker. Okay, here's this one. Ninjutsu 1. When it deals combat damage, I could draw a card, and if I do, discard a card unless the hacker turned in this turn. Thousand Face Shadow. Ninjutsu 4, of course, it creates the copy. It's got flying. We've seen it before. Same with the Futurist Operative. Becomes a 1/1 human citizen token that can't be blocked. And I could untap it to return it to normal. I don't know if I want this one, though. This is called Saiba Trespassers. It's got channel 4. I can discard Saiba Trespassers and tap 2. Yeah, see, the thing is that taps. That doesn't help. On the in terms of white creatures, I want the foxes, and one of those foxes, Blade Blizzard Kitsune, which I already put in there, didn't I? Yeah, I put the Blade Blizzard Kitsune in there. Yeah, Blade Blizzard Kitsune for White Ninja. I think it's the only White Ninja in the entirety of Magic. Here's Covert Technician. Where I get to put an artifact card with mana value less than or equal to the damage to that damage onto the battlefield. It's a quick way to get them out there. Let's see, this Covert Technician. I already got that in there. Okay, so that's all the ninjas. So now for the foxes, because I wanted to play foxes. Fox Advisor. Whenever an aura enters the battlefield under your control, if you cast it, you may search your library for an aura card. I don't know how much of an aura that's going to happen. Moth Rider Patrol. It's got flying. It's a 1/1 flyer, and I could tap a target creature. That's just more tapping. Kitsune Bone Setter. Prevent the next 3 damage that will be dealt this turn. I don't think that's good. Samurai of the Pale Curtain. Fox Samurai Bushido 1. Which, when this blocks or becomes blocked, it's +1/+1 until end of turn. If a permanent will be put into a graveyard, removed from the grave instead. That's a pretty powerful card. But I could be losing my own cards too. I'll have to take that into consideration. Selfless Samurai. Whenever a Samurai warrior you control attacks alone, gains lifelink. Samurai sacrifice another creature, gains indestructible. Seven-Tail Mentor. When it enters the battlefield or dies, I get a +1/+1 counter on target creature or vehicle. That's pretty good. Let's see. Let me sit that there. There's the Seven-Tail Mentor. Kitsune Blade Master. First Strike Bushido 1. Pretty obvious. So let me add these. So I'm gonna have ninjas and samurais. I'll make sure that they all have samurais. Except for this one. Golden Tail Disciples going in there. Champion creature with lifelink. I'm not sure about the clerics. I don't think the clerics are really worth the trouble. Playing tap target spirit, protection from spirits. They're too focused on spirits, so I think the samurais are a little better. I got the Selfless Samurai and the Blade Master in there, and the Mentor. So I guess that's it. I don't know about this one. If a permanent would be put into a graveyard, remove it from exile it instead. I don't know about the Samurai Pale Curtain. So let me see how many creatures I got overall. Um, let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So I got 21 creatures. Um, Fox samurais. I got samurais, ninjas, and artificers and pilots. So it's a little bit of a hodgepodge here and there. Um, it's a bit of a hodgepodge here and there. So if I were to add that with the vehicles, then that would be 36 that I'm working with. But let's hold up from getting any more. And let's deal with the mana rock situation. Seashell Cameo, add 1 or blue to my mana pool. So easy. What do I want to put? Okay, I'll put it up here. Sythis Ring, most definitely is going in there. Walking Skyscraper, I will put that to the side for a second. Foundry Inspector, artifact spells cost 1 less to cast. I think that's a good idea because I'm playing artifact vehicles. Silver Mirror and Gold Mirror are definitely going in because they let me tap for white and blue. Twashi Guidebot is going in there because I could draw a card. Either of Days, let me set that to the side. Circuit Mender is going in there. Arcanist's Owl. When Arcanist's Owl enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal an artifact or enchantment card and put that. Yeah, I'm going to put, how much is this here? It's 4 mana? Yeah, I'm putting that in there. Arcane Signet. Mirage Mirror becomes a copy of a target artifact, creature, enchantment, or land until end of turn. That's going in. Sky Diamond, Marble Diamond, Sol Diamond, Grand Dynamo, they're all going in. They're going right on in. I have Bone Sliver, Bone Splitter, Marauder's Axe. I don't know about any of these. I mean, I could play the Walking Skyscraper, but I don't think it's really that much worth the trouble. So yeah, I don't have much in terms of white spells and and blue spells. Interesting. Here's Sensei's Divining Top. That's going in here. Let's see here. Thought Vessel. Talisman of Progress. What's just Thought Vessel? Sure. I'll throw those 2 in there. It's a lot. Sisei's Ring. Mantis Engine. Mind Stone. I got plenty of, well, you know what, I don't know if I have enough mana rock, so I'll put that in here as well. Let's see. Hana Ship's Navigator. Target artifact or enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand. I would say yes. I would throw her in there. Should put her here with the creatures. Mantis Engine, where I can give creatures first strike. No. Okay. Wrath Capenshin Ship's Mage, Flash Flying, and Historic Spells have Flash. That might be helpful. Kangi Skywarden, no. Supreme Judge, no. Wings of Hope, Iridescent Angel, Galena's Knight, Sky Spirit, Flying First Strike. I don't know yet. Dance of the Manse. Return up to X target artifact and or artifact or less from the graveyard to the battlefield. Oh, if X is 6 or more, then permanents are 4/4 creatures in addition to their other types. Return up to X target artifact and or artifact creatures, each with mana value X or less. Well, I'm not sure how that works, but I'm gonna throw it in there only because it goes back to the battlefield. From the graveyard to play. Migratory Route, create 4/1/1 bird creatures. Maybe not. Staggering Insight. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1. The Wyvern, Thunderclap Wyvern. Other creatures you control flying gets +1/+1. I don't have a lot of flyers. Cloudblazer into the battlefield, gain 2 life and draw 2 cards. And other creatures you control flying gets +1/+1. Time wipe. Return a creature you control to its owner's hand, then destroy all creatures. No. Skycat Sovereign. Sphinx Revelation. Absorb. Counter target spell. Gain 3 life. Sure. Law Mage's Binding. No. Thirst for Knowledge. Yep. Peek. Look at target player's hand. Draw a card. Yep. Boomerang. Yep. Thopter Spy Network. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control an artifact, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter with flying. Whenever one or more artifact creatures you control do combat damage to a player, draw a card. Yeah, that's definitely a yeah. Anchor to Reality. Search your library for an equipment or vehicle card. Put that card onto the battlefield. Then shuffle. That may be too much. Reach through Mist. Draw a card. Yep. Thirst for Knowledge. Oh, you know what? Let me replace that foil version. Yeah, foil version for this clearer version. Alright, I'm almost done. Essence Capture. Counter target spell. Put a +1/+1 counter on one target creature I control. That's definitely a good counter. Time Stop. End the turn. I don't... too expensive. If I'm gonna boomerang, let me play the... I'm gonna do boomerang. Let me play this old card. A flex. Yeah. Let me flex boomerang. This old one. Let's see here. We got a creature. This spell costs 1 less for each to cast for each artifact you control. When it enters the battlefield, mill 4 cards. Choose artifact creature in your graveyard. You may cast that card this turn. Oh, this might be more helpful in blue-black than in my Kotose deck than any. Yeah, that should go into the Kotose deck. Jace, Architect of Thought. I'm not really interested in the Planeswalkers. Jin Gitaxias, Progress Tyrant. Whenever you cast a spell, instant, sorcery, copy that spell, you may choose new targets. Yeah, I'm throwing that in there. Copy those playing vehicles. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a 2/2 blue Drake creature token. Aconus the Omnipotent. Draw 3 cards. No. Caliphate, Beloved of the Sea. Is a demigod. Creatures and enchantments you control have spells your opponent's cast cost 1 more. I don't know. I don't think it's necessary. Keiga the Tide Star, Taniwa, Myojin of Seeing Winds, Tezzeret, Betrayer of Flesh. Apprentice Wizard. Tap blue, tap the wizard. Add 3 generic mana to your mana pool. Play this ability. You know what? It's a mana rock. I'll take a chance on that. Return target creature or enchantment to an opponent controls to its owner's hand. Stern Dismissal is what it's called. Sure. Divination. Draw 2 cards. Yeah. Eye to Nowhere. Return target permanent to owner's hand. Sure. Memory Lamps. Counter target spell. Put that spell on top of owner's library. Sure. I already have Boomerang. Obsessive Search. Draw a card. Madness 1 to draw a card. Brainstorm. Aetherize. Return all attacking creatures to their owner's hands. Oh. Yeah, this is a good board wipe. Sure. Tolarian Winds. Discard your hand. Draw that card. That's too risky. Draw 3 cards, then choose and discard a card. This is Sift. Levitation is definitely going in there. I already dealt with that. Man of War. I mean, I could throw it in, but I don't know if I'll be able to keep it. Cancel. Cancel. Opt. I get discard 1 and draw a card. Sure. Divination. I already put that in there. Counterspell. Obviously. Now we're on the white. Disenchant. Yes. Knighthood. All creatures gain first strike. Of course. That's the whole point. Do I want Invoke Justice? I could return and I get 4 +1/+1 counters on creatures. I mean, it gets my cards back. I'll put that in there. Armageddon Wrath of God is going in there for some creature wipes. Savara Sky's Blade. You may pay white and tap 4 untapped creatures. No. I already have Knighthood. Don't need Vigilance. let's see, Alharu. The ritualist enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter. Then, whenever a non-token creature you control with a +1/+1 dies, I create a 1/1. No, it's got a partner. Okay. Nagao, bound by honor. Bushido 1. Whenever it attacks, samurai I control gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Oh, that's not bad because I do have samurai. Draw a Capuchin, Kitar, Akroma, Mirari. Do I want Mirari? You know what? I'll put Mirari just in case. Myojin of Blooming Dawn. Enter the battlefield with indestructible counter. That's might not help me out. Duelist Heritage, which gives double strike until end of turn. Whenever I attack with one more creature, sure, that might be helpful. Pikeman, First Strike, Lowland Tracker, Kami of the Palace Fields, Knighthood, Tundra Wolves. I don't think I need these guys here. Benelish Heralds. Advanced Scout. I think I got plenty enough creatures here because I got Youthful Knight. These are all first striking creatures, but I don't think I need to fit them in here. Who else do I have here? Oh, Advisor. Whenever you cast or equipment or a vehicle spell, I draw a card. This is SRAM, Senior Edificer. This is a definite yes. That's a definite yes. Anything to draw a card. Tesharp, Ancestor's Apostle, legendary bird creature. No, maybe not for this deck. Advanced Scout, Pikeman, Goshen Tai. Here's a Samurai. Vigilance. Whenever Samurai attacks alone, you may cast target enchantment card from your graveyard this turn. Oh, interesting. Maybe not. Not for this one here. Okay, Nora Cut. She's got Vigilance. Ishimaru. Okay, so I think that's it. All right. So there we go. There's my starting group. Yeah, I'm not gonna add the walking skyscraper. I mean, it's pretty fun. It looks like a fun thing. You know what? Sure. Throw that in there. So there we go. There we go. So I don't know how many cards I got here overall, but it's definitely over 100. There's no way this is an even 100. That'll be freaking amazing if that's the case, or I'm within range. So we'll do the count. Now that we've seen it, there we are. So there we go. All right. So let's do the count. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. All right. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Oh my gosh. Did I really pull this off? No, I couldn't have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Nope. I am indeed over. How many cards am I over? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay. 26. I'm over 26. So, okay. That's actually not bad. That's not bad. So now I just have to choose 26 cards to remove from this whole entire thing. So I'll be doing that off show, and I'll return later down the line show you the results. What's in this deck. The final thing. So here it is. This is my the foundational, my starting foundation of white blue vehicle deck, commander deck, my Kotori deck. Oh, back. Mm. Mm-mm. Eek. There we go. I gotta be careful. I've got to be careful here. Here we go. Yeah, that was a Kotori Pilot Prodigy, my Kotori deck. So, yeah, there we go. This is the foundation. So once I parse cut it down and strain it out, there we go, and then see what happens. So comment, and also like and subscribe if you like. You're welcome to do all that. You're invited to do so if you're interested. But comment down below what you think of the cards that I chose. If there's any cards that can work with or anything, share it with me. I'm all ears. So with that said, thank you for joining me, and I wish you all a good night, buenas noches, and oyasumi nasai.